Good morning, YouTube. It's Saturday, October 7th, 2017. Today we'll be once more exploring the ideas and concepts in The Human's Guide to Words essay sequence. A link to that will be in the video description if you're feeling inspired and want to read ahead, or if you just absorb some things better as text. Okay, so imagine you have a peculiar job in a peculiar factory. Your task is to take objects from a mysterious conveyor belt and sort the objects into two bins. When you first arrive, Susan, the senior sorter, explains to you that the blue egg-shaped objects are called blegs and go in the bleg bin, while red cubes are called rubes and go in the rube bin. Once you start working, you notice that blegs and rubes differ in ways besides color and shape. Blegs have fur on their surface while rubes are smooth. Blegs flex slightly to touch while rubes are hard. Blegs are opaque, the rube surface is slightly translucent. Soon after you begin working, you encounter a bleg shaded an unusually dark blue. In fact, on closer examination, the color proves to be purple, halfway between red and blue. Wait, why are you calling this object a bleg at all? A bleg was originally defined as blue and egg-shaped. The implied blueness is right there in the word bleg. This object is not blue. One of the necessary qualifications is missing. You should call this a purple egg-shaped thing, not a bleg. But it so happens that in addition to being purple and egg-shaped, the object is also furred, flexible, and opaque. So when you saw the object, you thought, oh, a strangely colored bleg. It certainly isn't a rube, right? Still, you aren't quite sure what to do next. So you call over Susan, the senior sorter. Oh, yeah, that's a bleg. You can put it in the bleg bin. You start to toss the purple bleg into the bleg bin, but pause for a moment. Susan, you say, how do you know this is a bleg? Isn't that obvious? The object may be purple, but it's still egg-shaped, furred, flexible, and opaque, just like all the other blegs. You've got to expect a few color defects, or is this one of those philosophical conundrums like, how do you know the world wasn't created 5 minutes ago complete with false memories? In a philosophical sense, I'm not absolutely certain that this is a bleg, but it seems like a pretty good guess to me. No, I mean, why is there a bleg bin and a rube bin? What's the difference between blegs and rubes? Blegs are blue and egg-shaped, rubes are red and cube-shaped. You got the standard orientation lecture, right? Why do blegs and rubes need to be sorted? 'Cause otherwise they'd be all mixed up. Because nobody will pay us to sit around all day not sorting blegs and rubes. Who originally determined that the first blue egg-shaped object was a bleg, and how did they determine that? I suppose you could just as easily call the red cube-shaped objects blegs and the blue egg-shaped objects rubes, but it seems easier to remember this way. Okay, so suppose a completely mixed-up object came off the conveyor, like an orange sphere-shaped, furred, translucent object with writhing green tentacles. How could I tell whether it was a bleg or a rube? Wow, no one's ever found an object that mixed up, but I guess we'd take it to the sorting scanner. How does the sorting scanner work? X-rays, magnetic resonance imaging, fast neutron transmission spectrography? I'm told it works by Bayes' rule. I don't quite understand how. I like to say it though. Bayes, 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 Bayes. What does the sorting scanner tell you? It tells you whether to put the object into the bleg bin or the rube bin. That's why it's called a sorting scanner. At this point, you fall silent. Incidentally, it may interest you to know that blegs contain small nuggets of vanadium ore, and rubes contain shreds of palladium, both of which are useful industrially. Susan, you are pure evil. Oh, thank you. So, now it seems we've discovered the heart and essence of blegness. A bleg is an object that contains a nugget of vanadium ore. Surface characteristics like blue color and furredness do not determine whether an object is a bleg. Surface characteristics only matter because they help you infer whether an object is a bleg or not, whether the object contains vanadium. Containing vanadium is a necessary and sufficient definition. All blegs contain vanadium, and everything that contains vanadium is a bleg. Bleg is just a shorthand way of stating vanadium-containing object, right? Not so fast, says Susan. Around 98% of blegs contain vanadium, but 2% contain palladium instead. To be precise, Susan continues, around 98% of blue egg-shaped, furred, flexible, opaque objects contain vanadium. For unusual blegs, it may be a different percentage. 95% of purple blegs contain vanadium. 92% of hard blegs contain vanadium, etc. Now, suppose you find a blue egg-shaped, furred, flexible, opaque object, an ordinary bleg in every visible way. And just for kicks, you take it to the sorting scanner, and the scanner says palladium. This is one of the rare 2%. Is it a bleg? At first, you might answer that since you intend to throw this object in the rube bin, you might as well call it a rube. However, it turns out that almost all blegs, if you switch off the lights, glow faintly in the dark, while almost all rubes do not glow in the dark. And the percentage of blegs that glow in the dark is not significantly different for blue, egg-shaped, furred, flexible, opaque objects that contain palladium instead of vanadium. Thus, if you want to guess whether the object glows like a bleg or remains dark like a rube, you should guess that it glows like a bleg. So, is the object really a bleg or a rube? On one hand, you'll throw the object into the rube bin no matter what else you learn. On the other hand, if there are any unknown characteristics of the object you need to infer, you'll infer them as if the object were a bleg, not a rube. Group it into the similarity cluster of blue egg-shaped, furred, flexible, opaque things, and not into the similarity cluster of red, cube-shaped, hard, smooth, translucent things. The question, is this object a bleg, may stand in for different queries on different occasions. In terms of which bin you're going to put it in based on its core metal, the object is not a bleg, but in terms of whether you expect it to glow in the dark or not, it is a bleg. If it weren't standing in for some query, you'd have no reason to care, but that doesn't necessitate that it's the same query, even if the same words are being used. Is atheism a religion? Is transhumanism a cult? People who argue that atheism is a religion because it states beliefs about God are really trying to argue, I think, that the reasoning methods used in atheism are on par with the reasoning methods used in religion, or that atheism is no safer than religion in terms of the probability of casually engendering violence or something. What's really at stake is an atheist's claim of substantive difference and superiority relative to religion, which the religious person is trying to reject by denying the difference rather than superiority. But that's not the a priori irrational part. The a priori irrational part is where, in the course of the argument, someone pulls out a dictionary and looks up the definition of atheism or religion. How could a dictionary possibly decide whether an empirical cluster of atheists is really substantially different from an empirical cluster of theologians? How can reality vary with the meaning of a word? The extensional points in ThinkSpace don't move around when we redraw our intentional boundary. But people often don't realize that their argument about where to draw a definitional boundary is really a dispute over whether to infer a characteristic shared by most things inside an empirical cluster. Hence the phrase disguised query. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested in supporting me as a content creator, you can do so on Patreon. Links to that, along with my Twitter, blog, and Discord server, will be in the video description. Take care, YouTube. This is Hive Epicreta. Until we meet again.